Now what I want to do is put in some values from kinematic equations. Now for x, the value is x is equal to the previous value of x, or x0, plus v0 t plus 1/2 t squared. Okay. Algebraically, this is what our formula looks like. What I've typed in here is pure text. That's not really an Excel formula. I just put that in here to remind us what kinematic equation I'm going to be writing down below here. So again, for a formula, I start with an equal sign, equals. Now x0 is going to be our initial value of x. That's this cell here. And remember what we saw when we did the autofill in delta t. We want to lock that position 1. So I'll put in a $sign there. Okay, so that's x0 plus v0 x. That is the x component of the initial velocity. For that, I can use the magnitude of the velocity and the angle. I think what I'm going to do, though, rather than calculate those each time, I'm going to add to the top here a separate calculation for v sub x and v sub y, initial values, because we're going to use them so often. So I'm going to anticipate putting that value in this cell right here. So I'll just click that to select it. But I have to go back and add the actual formula or value there later. So there's the initial x velocity times t. The t I'm going to use is the t to the left. And I'm going to want that t to vary as I autofill. That means I do not want to lock the 14 here. I have an error in the formula here. There should be an acceleration in the x direction. Let me just correct that. So no consequence other than it's misleading. Okay, now in our actual Excel formula, we have no x acceleration, so I'll just leave that part off there. And so my x formula is done. I'd like to copy this formula all the way down to the bottom of the spreadsheet. I can do as we did with the time column by clicking on this lower right corner and dragging down. But that's not the most efficient way now. Alternatively, what I can do is click on that cell to select it, go to the bottom, which is in my bottom scrolling window, but before I click, I press and hold the Shift key. Now I click, and I've selected this whole region. That will be useful. So go back here, copy. I did a Control or a Command C. Go back to the bottom, press Shift, click. Now I've got this part of the column selected, and now I'm going to paste by Control or Command V. Okay, that's done. If we look at any of these formulas, you see that it's equal to what we were striving to get. Now let me go back here and put the initial x and y velocities. Just a label here. And copy that just to save me some time and energy. I'll edit this x to be a y. Now the initial x velocity is going to be a formula. It's going to be equal to, again, formulas start with an equal sign, the magnitude of velocity times the cosine of the angle above the horizontal. However, The cosine function in Excel is expecting an argument in radians. I'm putting my angles in degrees, so I have to convert this to radians. So I can write another conversion inside here, multiply by pi and divide by 180, for example. To multiply by pi, I can use the built-in Excel function pi with empty parentheses, and then divide by 180. By the way, Excel is case insensitive here. I used pi in lowercase, but after I enter this formula, you'll see it automatically got converted to uppercase. There's another way I can convert from degrees to radians. That's with another built-in Excel function, the radians function. So there's my formula. Enter. View the formula again. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this formula and paste it into the next cell. But I'm going to copy it a little bit differently. I'm going to copy it from the formula bar. So I select it, Command or Control C, and then I'll just press Enter. Now instead of pasting it here, I'm going to paste it into the formula bar. And the advantage of that, if I just copied and pasted one cell to another, it would automatically increment the 3 to a 4 and the 4 to a 5 since I went one cell down. This way, by copying and pasting in the formula bar, it took verbatim what was there. All I have to do now is change the cosine to a sine. And there we are. Okay, now we have our velocities. And notice that now x, since we've put the initial x velocity here, the x position is now working properly. Now the velocity in the x direction has a formula that looks like this. I'm going to make my column a little bit wider. When I go to the top here, you'll see my cursor changes into this vertical bar with left and right arrows. With a click and hold, I can drag the borderline between these two columns. I can also double click on it, and Excel will automatically adjust the column width to the largest or widest item in that whole column.